Before we begin this episode of Potterless, continuing my first ever journey through the Harry Potter series, just a few quick announcements. So the merchandise store is live. If you go to bit.ly/merch on, all lowercase, you can get some amazing Potterless merch, and I have a fun little contest to announce in regards to the merchandise. So the Wizard on pins, the Ludo Bagman posters, the Potterless stickers, those are all ready to be shipped right now, but the shirts and sweater are on pre-order until this Friday, June 22nd. Now you'll notice that for the shirts, there is different color options, one for each of the Hogwarts houses. So we're having a little pre-order competition whereby when the pre-order closes, whichever house is in the lead, I will make a special bonus episode that is free to the public, not behind any sort of Patreon paywall, about that particular house. So the current standings are Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and then a tie for third between Slytherin and Gryffindor. And the Gryffindor inside of me is crying, but the cynic inside of me is laughing because these standings are the exact opposite of what they would be in the book. So get in those pre-orders. I will make a special bonus episode just doing a big deep dive about the history of the house, the founders, all that good stuff. So head on over to bit.ly/merchon and try to get your house to win. If you like hearing me talk about Harry Potter, but you want it in some sort of different format, I guest starred on the Potterotica podcast recently. So we read a short story, an erotic Harry Potter fanfiction that was inspired by Britney Spears' Toxic, and oh boy, it was a hoot and a half. So just search for Potterotica wherever you get your podcasts if you want to hear that. It was very fun, and all the people that make that podcast are lovely, and Danny will be a future guest on the show. And if you simply can't get enough podcasts and you need some new recommendations, why don't you check out some of the amazing shows offered from Multitude? So Potterless is part of Multitude, but there's also Join the Party, which is an amazing Dungeons & Dragons storytelling campaign. There's Spirits, which is hosted by Amanda and Julia, who are on this episode, that do some mythology deep dives over drinks and have some lovely comedic discussions about it. And then there's also Waste Station that they host, which covers Lost Girl, which is a supernatural show about a succubus. What's not to love? So if you head to multitude.productions, you can get more information about all of those lovely podcasts. And speaking of amazing people that do wonderful things, we have new patrons to welcome to the team. So shout out to Ella Terrasa, Alyssa Nasaya, Michelle Media, Alicia Leon, Rion Patterson, Lisa Carruthers, Charlotte Roberts, Kat Hammond, Mandy Freeman, Chad Ostrander, Brenda Martinez, Diller, Dominic Matthews, Laura Collar, Amber Ferris, Caitlin Buckles, Justin Morris, Eric Dobitz, Michaela Spevacek, Bird Arias, Colleen Allen, Alyssa Ashley, Shoshana Prisbalinski, Kelsey Parisian, Hannah Elder, Laura Knight Lucas, Kara Dye, Calmage, Emily, Morgan Ranf, Marina Henberg, Rosie Dodds, Danielle Barnett, Sheena Meng, J. Ray Godman, Allison Mira, Michaela Reffield, Aaron Christensen, Maya, Jordy Hoken, Callie Martin, Jen Scarborough, Chris Hemsdorf, Rachel Guthrie, and Ibrahim Rifat, as well as Aaron Anderson, Tila Anderson, Pooja, and Julia Rose, who all upgraded their Patreon pledges. And an enormous shout out to our newest producer level patrons, Colette Smith, Chrissy Blackburn, Shrina Unicott, Jeremy Bonney, Stephen Gagne, Lala Palmer, Chelsea Green, Taylor Armstead, Victoria Jones, and Sammy Curti. They joined the ranks of Leanne, Vicky, Aaron, Erica, Calvin, Sadie, Jesse, Natalie, Deborah, Clow, Alex, Rebecca, Frank, Marchismo, Tori, Samantha, Juan, Sheila, Jenna, Kieran, Luis, Akanksha, Rebecca, Abid, Caitlin, Lee, Ayana, Benjamin, Rosemary, Jill, Maria, Marie, Lisa, Ariel, Romita, Kamal, Anthony, Diego, Andrew, Celeste, Russell, Jenny, Dustin, Katie, Audra, Indiana, Eleanor, Sydney, Billy, Roseanne, Mikey, Andrea, and Nikita, who never awkwardly spilled water on their face when they're trying to drink out of a water bottle. If you want to be like one of these amazing people and get access to bonus content like bonus episodes, exclusive merchandise, discounts on the merchandise site, head on over to patreon.com/Potterless and become a patron today. But without further ado, let's get into episode 44 of Potterless, covering the first half of chapter 14 with guest stars Kelly Beckman, Amanda McLoughlin, and Julia Schifini from Multitude.
Hello, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Potterless, the journey of a 26-year-old man reading the Harry Potter series for the first time. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm that 26-year-old man, and I am currently with three lovely ladies near and dear to my heart, all of which you've heard on Potterless before, but now we're all in the same room together to discuss this first half of chapter 14 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So going around the room, I'm here with Kelly Beckman, my girlfriend and web designer for the website. I'm here with Julia Schifini of Spirits Podcast, and also Amanda McLoughlin of Spirits and Join the Party.
Yo, yo.
And both of you guys are on Waste Station too. So it's a big
Yeah.
Multitude hang sesh.
Multitude hang.
Yeah, so we'll be discussing chapter 14. We'll be discussing the first half. Chapter 14, Felix Felicis. And I just want to get right into it because there is so much goodness, and Ginny murders her brother in the end of this little section we're going to talk about, and I'm excited.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know. I'm probably wrong, and I'll get
Felix
yelled at.
Felicis is the way
Felix
that-
really?
Felicis.
Yes,
Shut the
someone,
fuck up.
someone is going to be wrong and
That's
get
that's
yelled
better
at.
than how I grew up reading it, which was Felix Flexies.
Okay, that is
So-
certainly not
That
it.
is definitely wrong.
So the first note that I have written down is that the drawing in the book has the squad wearing their robes and they have clothes underneath the robes, which is not canon, and I have a problem
Is
with
it
that.
not canon though? Because it is in the book.
But J.K. Rowling has said that the drawings are not canon because
Okay.
in the drawings, Harry's lightning bolt is in the middle of his head, and in her envisioning of him, it's like it is in the movie where it's like off to the right.
That's a
All
small
right.
detail, though.
That is a very
Yeah,
small
but she's
detail.
said it like in an interview before. The only reason I know this is because I researched before I made the logo, where does the lightning bolt go? Because I saw the pictures in the book, and then I saw the movie and stuff, and then I saw this interview with J.K. Rowling, and she was like, well, you know, I haven't approved of all the drawings or whatever. In my envisioning, his lightning bolt was to the right. So
Yeah,
in
but
my
like, are they
brain-
naked? What's the other choice?
So,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
they
in the-
have, like,
in this-
underwear underneath, and that's it.
It must be some kind of Victorian undergarment situation. There must be like
Yeah.
a,
Do you think
another
they
layer
provide
under there.
that? Is that like one of the things that you can get at Madame Malkin's?
They just don't put it on the list because of propriety.
Maybe.
Well,
But
House-
so then,
house
like
underwear.
all of the Muggleborns would like come to the school wearing like their
Yeah.
boxers and stuff, and then everyone's like, "What the hell are those?"
I don't know. It just doesn't
seems
seem very
dumb.
practical.
yeah,
to
I
me.
mean, in the movies, they definitely wear clothes underneath. So
They
I'm
wear
assuming.
clothes more than they wear robes
Yeah.
in the movies.
Here's my question: was Snape just the odd one out?
Yeah, maybe
Was
they do wear clothes,
Snape
but
just,
Snape
like-
is just
yeah.
a freak and didn't.
Yeah.
Because that's all the
That's
basis of
possible.
saying they don't wear clothes is because James in the flashback flips Snape upside down, and when he does, you can see his underwear.
Also, like, was Snape wearing a skirt under his robe? Maybe.
Maybe.
That could be a thing.
But anyway, enough discussion of things that aren't in the chapter. Let's talk about the actual chapter. So this one, like every other chapter in the book, starts with Harry Potter filling in the squad about what happened in the previous chapter. So he's telling them about the Dumbledore lesson as is customary practice, and they're on their way to Herbology class. And there's a weird mist around, which I think they mentioned earlier in the book. Doesn't the weird mist, isn't that a result of Dementors breeding? Isn't that?
yeah, I think that's the implication. They
Yeah.
started like in the first chapter. That's
Yeah,
what they
in the
do.
very beginning, because
Yeah.
Misha and I made fun of Dementor sex, which was a great
It was
discussion.
so good.
Please don't remind me of a thing that I already cannot get out of my brain.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, Harry asks Hermione about the Slughorn party, and she says that it was quite fun. She starts to mention some of the details. One of the details is that there was good food there, so I've done a big 180 on Slughorn now.
Oh, yeah,
Bi-
yeah.
I mean, if he's got good food at the parties, like...
Slughorn is like that bougie dude that you don't want to actually go to their party, but they have like an open bar and really good food and stuff like that, so you go anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true.
I support that. Yeah, dang. Yeah, because if I was in this situation and I was like in the slug club, gross. If it was like, oh yeah, the party's blah, 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 I find out there's good food, I'd be like, yo, we got to just go for the food. It's like one of those parties where you like make fun of the host the whole time behind their back kind of situation, but then you're eating their food and stuff. I would do it.
So I used to work for an agency that was all about like foreign policy and stuff. So we would go
Ooh.
to these dinners all the time, which like if we weren't part of this agency, we'd be paying thousands of dollars per plate. But open bar, always good food. I would just go to these and they'd be like, Rand Paul, psh. And then
I mean,
there.
that's a
There's
good way
a
to
very
do it.
memorable night where Julia got very drunk at a Rand Paul fundraiser.
yeah, and I have a picture of me hanging out with Rand Paul.
Very drunk.
Fun.
Yep.
It was cute.
Fun. So Hermione mentions that Slughorn introduced them to Gwenog Jones, and Ron freaks out and is like, the Gwenog Jones? Captain of the Holyhead Harpies? And Hermione just confirms, she's like, yeah, that's her. She was honestly a bit full of herself, which I love Hermione being completely unfazed by this famous person.
To be fair, the Holyhead, I know we're anti-Quidditch
It's fine.
on this.
It's fine.
The Holyhead Harpies are an all-women's team,
Oh, that's super cool.
and they're amazing.
Wait, okay, they're my new favorite team.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm getting very Goblet of Fire vibes here, where Hermione feels really like grossly proud of herself for being part of a kind of exclusive social situation, which I completely identify with.
I
You know,
get it.
being kind of on the outskirts and having your friends be like complete shit to you, and then all of a sudden you are in a club that they wish that they were in. Like, hell, I would be, you know, kind of excited and mean too.
Hermione is being the mean nerd in this situation, and I
Yeah.
dig it.
100%.
Ooh, yeah, she gets enough crap from Ron where she can rub it in his face a little bit.
Especially in this chapter.
Oh my goodness. Yes. As she is talking about this, Sprout yells at them for talking in class. And
Have we talked about Sprout Hooch headcanon?
yeah, Charlotte brought it up in episode 3.
Good,
and
correct.
it is my official favorite basically we discussed that Madam Hooch and Professor Sprout would be like an amazing lesbian couple at Hogwarts. Okay, R.
Yeah.
Is that canon?
Well, it is headcanon.
What?
So headcanon is when you, in your brain, say that something is canon, even though it has not been officially confirmed.
It's canon for you.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's the
I don't care what
fan
anybody
canon.
says.
Yeah.
I
but
gotcha.
This is it.
So, for me, they wear clothes under their robes.
Okay.
Yes.
And for me, they play basketball instead of Quidditch.
That's a stretch.
Quidditch is theater club and not athletics. That's what I think.
Right, yeah, it should be. Ron tells Harry that they should have used muffle-yato, which Google tells me is a charm that makes people's ears ring. Is this the first mention of it, or did they talk about it
No,
previously
I
in the book?
believe that they talked about it as one of the charm exam finals
Early in
one
the
of the
books.
earlier books, maybe
Yeah.
a fourth one.
And it's also
no,
the
it
spell-
wasn't the fourth 'cause they
I thought
canceled
it was
one.
one of the Half-Blood Prince's thing.
Yeah, that's what I think it is, because then the next line in the book says that Hermione gets upset about it.
She's like super anti.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
maybe
really?
then.
I thought it was one of the things written in the margin, and they tried it out, and they were super into it, and Hermione was like, "This was great," and then they told her it's from the Half-Blood Prince.
And then she got pissed. Yeah.
Mhm.
That
That
makes a
sounds
lot
about
more sense. It is, though, what allows people to masturbate at Hogwarts. But then in
God!
fan canon is that's obviously you cast a cone of silence around you.
Why?
Oh my
And
gosh.
That is how you do what you have to do behind your four-poster
Silencio
bed.
instead, bro. You don't want it muffled. You
Silencio
want
is
it
somebody
silent.
else. Silencio is somebody else.
All right.
Can you do spells on yourself, even if they're mean ones?
Oh, yo.
Can you
Oh,
silencio
true. Maybe that's
yourself?
the-
Self silencio. Oh, that sounds
You hear
dirty.
rustling and stuff. All right, never mind. Just giving you some
I mean,
insights
this is
here.
a very
from-
important discussion for the
from
Potterless
Fanon.
Internet podcast. Yeah, so Hermione gets super upset and is like, no, they shouldn't, just because she hates that it's a Half-Blood Prince situation. The book then goes into this vivid description of their class, which involves them removing pods from snargaluffs, and it's all about how there's these twisting vines that they have to stick their hand in between to reach the pod out. It's so in-depth that this has to come into play later in the book, because why the hell would they talk about Herbology class this much in detail?
Maybe J.K. Rowling needed to pump out the chapter a bit more.
I was just gonna
So
say,
she's a
normally-
whole page on herbology. Do
Normally,
it.
I would make a crack about the books being way too long, but this is the shortest book, so
Yeah.
or
It's the
of
shortest
of the
all
last
of them?
four.
Yeah, okay. It's
Yeah.
shorter than from 4 on.
4
Yeah.
on.
They
is the
increase in
shortest one.
size, and then 5 is big, and then
Yeah.
6 shrinks, and 7's in
Yeah.
the middle.
Yeah.
After removing their first pod, Hermione goes on to mention that Slughorn is having a Christmas party, and Harry cannot miss it because Slughorn checked with Hermione to schedule it for a night when Harry was free, which I would say
That's a
cue
mood.
Mariah Carey's Obsessed, why you so obsessed with me? It's
Yeah.
getting uncomfortable at this point,
It's
Slughorn.
true.
No, that's a mood. I specifically reach out to my friends to see, hey, I'm going to do a party this
Yeah,
day. I want to make sure that everyone is invited and can be there.
Yeah, but you don't do that to people that you've met 2 times and
I was
want to be
gonna
friends
say,
with because they're
They're,
famous.
they're not friends.
Maybe I do.
they're strangers.
Listen, I relate to Slughorn quite a bit.
That's your choice,
My
man.
Slytherin dad.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, do you collect human beings?
How do you think I became a podcaster? No, I'm kidding.
Hashtag light cannibalism.
I get doing this, and I do this with groups of people, but I wouldn't do it for one individual person, especially person that's had shitty excuse to miss my parties a bunch.
It makes sense because his whole thing is he wants the most famous people, and Harry Potter is the most famous wizard
Yeah.
of all time. So it makes sense, but it's real creepy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
like
creepy.
if you had an acquaintance of your favorite celebrity and they were like, hey, I can't come to your party this time, but next time maybe, and you totally planned it around that celebrity coming.
I can get it.
It's
I
like
can get it.
let's say you've got an acquaintance with Obama. You keep throwing
Okay,
these parties.
I I think Barack Obama is far more important than Harry Potter, but
I would say
About the
famous wise,
same.
but Obama's so cool. Anyway, Hermione then goes on to call it the Slug Club multiple times, which means it's the actual name of
No,
the
it
club,
is. Yeah.
and it's a garbage name, absolute trash
It
name.
does rhyme though, so
Slug Club.
Yeah.
It's a half rhyme at
Kinda.
best.
do something better.
Yeah,
Alright.
okay,
no,
let's
I
make
mean
a better
you.
name.
You
Let's
do
go.
something
Oh,
better.
then okay, so it's Slughorn's group. Well, I mean, hot slugs would be funnier. Like hot sluts, but slugs instead.
What?
I don't know.
That makes it worse.
I don't know.
16.
It's a joke. Yeah, okay, cool. Damn it, they're in high school, so it's not fun. Oh yeah, because then you can't do like Slughorny for this one.
Oh,
no,
God. Oh,
that's
no.
also
Oh,
bad.
gosh.
They're all the
Michael.
worst. Cool. Everyone's unsubscribed to Potterless.
Yeah,
Great.
great.
Slug
Good
Club is a great name. Ron makes fun of it. Hermione goes, "Look, I didn't come up with the name," and Ron is super upset. He's like, "You should go hook up with McLoughlin so you can become King and Queen Slug." And then she
This chapter is just very focused on hooking up.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of it that goes on. Hermione interjects and goes, "Oh, well, we were allowed to bring guests to the Christmas party, and I was going to ask you, but if you think it's too stupid, then I won't bother." All of these words are in italics that I'm emphasizing. And Ron, very adorably, completely changes his tone and is like, You were going to ask me?" Which is like, "Oh, Ronald, so cute. My heart explodes." And Hermione says, "Yes, but obviously, if you'd rather I'd hooked up with McLoughlin."
Which,
And then
like, wow, hooked up is a real phrase. Like that, I'm
strong
very
word
surprised
choice.
that phrase was actually used.
Well, I've always had an interesting thing with hooked up because it's always different definitions, and maybe in the UK it's different. But in my brain, hooking up was just like making out. But in other people's brain, hooking up is like the sex.
to my
So-
parents, it's talking to a person once.
What?
Like,
Oh, like we hooked up last
yeah,
night.
like are you like hook up with Kevin? And I'm like, no, I'm not hooking up with Kevin. Yeah.
Oh,
That's fair.
parents.
Yeah, I feel like the UK version is like, oh, you guys were hanging out. You gonna meet up and do a thing?
That's true. It could be
Yeah.
my Americanized
So-
2018
I
brain.
think that might be true.
Okay, so
Probably.
Ron's just saying like pair up with McLoughlin,
Yeah.
not
Like
necessarily
hang
make out
out with
with, or
him.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know, but I was just like, ooh,
I feel like Googling this.
Yeah, for
but-
this one, we really need newly minted UK correspondent Dottie James. And now it is time for British Quandaries with UK correspondent Dottie James.
Hooking up in the UK is generally, it's an ambiguous term. It can mean anything from making out to a lot more than that. But it's generally understood to at least mean making out.
This has been British Quandaries with UK correspondent Dottie James.
So after Hermione says her whole, "Well, if you'd rather me hook up with McLoughlin," Ron, again in this very different and sad tone, goes, "No, I wouldn't," Ron said in a very quiet voice.
so
"Aw."
relatable.
Ron then is described by the narrator as looking, quote, sheepish, but also pleased with himself. Like, he's sad that he was a dick, but then also happy that, oh, Hermione likes me, which is an interesting place to be in. But he's in love. Harry then starts to realize that he kind of saw this coming, and it's this weird, like, takes up a full page where Harry starts to, like, think about their relationship, but he only thinks about the worst case scenario situations. He's like, oh, no, what if they get together, and then they break up, and then it's awkward for me to hang out with them?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what if they get together and they're all lovey-dovey and it's awkward for me to hang out with them? It's like, Harry, these are your two best friends that love each other. Maybe think like, oh, wow, wouldn't it be great if Ron and Hermione spend the rest of their lives together and have a wonderful family? Not like, oh, how does this affect me, Harry Potter, the only person that matters?
He's a self-centered teen boy. What
Yeah.
do you want
16
from
years
him?
old.
It's very relatable. Very 16.
Super relatable.
I guess I probably sucked at 16 though.
I mean,
I was probably really bad.
We
I
all
was
kinda sucked at
honestly garbage
16.
until like senior year of high school when I finally. It took me until halfway through my senior year of high school to be like, screw like popularity and like worrying what people think and stuff. So I probably sucked for 3.5
I was
years.
garbage until like 22. I'm still kind of garbage.
We all get that little bit of garbage in us.
You also went to an all-boys high school, so I
Yeah.
feel like it's different. Like, you still can hang out with your bros at school, even if they've got a girlfriend that they're super into outside of school.
Yeah,
And you
it
don't
was
have a trio
different-
of best friends that includes girls.
Yeah, that's true. It was a whole different situation. Like I like all boys school was great. Everyone makes fun of it and all that kind of stuff. Like, sure, we didn't have girls in the hallways and classes and stuff like that, but like, yo, there was no drama.
Sounds better.
It was good. It was just like you went to school.
Not
it was all
that girls are good are bad, but just that
just
it's
no
great not to be
drama.
distracted. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like you went
Like,
to school.
oh, I
it was
can learn
all-
algebra now.
Yeah, it was the thing is like it was all business. You show up to school, you're not worried about that much what you got to wear as long as you're in dress code because we had a dress code. As long as you're in dress code, it's chill. You're not worrying about how you look or if Cindy or whoever thinks you're hot when you're walking down the hallway or whatever. Cindy's not a real name, Kelly. Don't worry. And then, but like you go to school, it's all business. You just focus on whatever. And then like in the hallways and stuff, we all like made fun of each other all the time. So I got really good
Yeah, you're a
at
professional
insulting.
so
comedian.
much about
Yeah,
it.
Right? Like it was
Why
the
you're so good at
entire-
hacky sack.
Oh God, no,
Yeah.
that did not happen. I'm garbage at hacky sack. But it was great. It was just like all work and being bros and stuff. So there was way less drama. So maybe it's a different situation where like if there were girls around and we were trying to impress people, I'm sure we all would have been way worse of human beings.
Well, I mean, everybody has that friend that gets in a relationship and they disappear.
True.
And everybody has that friend who gets in a relationship and gets broken up with and then they disappear too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's really valid. Super
Yeah,
relatable.
I can get it with Harry. I just wish like one of his thoughts was like, oh, good for them. But like all of them are like, oh no, what if this bad thing happens?
Really, not one.
Not one of his things?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read the
Do it.
page?
Yeah.
Do
I
it.
mean, it's
The-
basically exactly what I described.
The best thing he says is Harry supposed he would just have to wait to see what happened under
yep.
the influence of butterbeer in Slughorn's dimly lit room on the night of the party.
Yo.
Which, like, that's creepy.
Sexy.
I definitely, I wrote,
thought that was
I thought it was
creepy,
weird.
too.
Kelly doesn't think,
I didn't think it was that weird. I think it was more of like, man, I can tell that my friends have all of these like
Sexual tension.
they have all of these
Inhibitions.
things standing in the way of them admitting their feelings to each other because they're super awkward. Let's see what happens when they're a little drunk.
But like it's
felt
also
weird
the
to me.
regulation of butterbeer mystifies me. No one checks ID ever. You can
Well,
just
'cause
get
it's
it in
very
Hogsmeade.
lowly alcoholic, like very, very, very.
Are we
lowly
talking like
alcoholic.
O'Doul's where it's the tiniest bit just because
Okay,
they
but
can?
this isn't the fucking Middle Ages where we didn't have potable water. Like we have water now. Also, there's spells, and like I don't know why they're letting kiddos drink butterbeer all the time. But yeah, it's very seemingly predatory and creepy from Slughorn's point of view.
I never knew that
From
it was.
Slughorn's point of view?
I mean, this
Like
is
of Slughorn to be like, oh, here's a dimly lit room with alcohol,
Oh.
children.
Well, no, it's not even. I mean, they're going to fucking. At 13, they could go to a tavern and buy butterbeer. That's not that weird, in my opinion.
And also, like 16 is a drinking age in places, so it's like.
This is true.
I never knew that butterbeer was alcoholic. I always thought it was some kind of spell on it that made you feel warm and happy. Like you can't
Yeah.
drink too much and get super drunk, but drinking a little bit is like
That's true.
making you feel warm
Yeah.
and happy. I thought it was like a spell thing.
that makes you.
I also didn't know
similar
what alcohol
things.
was when I read this.
It's mentioned as alcoholic because Winky the house elf gets drunk
Oh,
on
she
butterbeer.
does.
Oh, she does.
Unless
But she's a
But
house
she's
elf.
a-
She has
Yeah,
different
yeah.
anatomy and different
Right.
tolerances.
But it
for-
is
that
like
was how I
slightly
justified it.
alcoholic to them.
This is
like-
something that Dottie and I talked about in the last episode. But how great would it be if like wizarding alcohol in some sort of way has a spell in it where like there's a certain
No
point you can
hangovers?
get to. Yeah, no hangovers, but also like it gets you drunk to a certain point, but then anything else it's moot, so you can't get
Yeah.
like trashed, and then you never throw up or something from it. Like we have no idea, but that would be so good.
There
I
are
could never
hangover
get trashed,
potions,
that'd be
but
great.
that would be nice.
I feel like maybe it's like certain brands would be like, you can't get hungover from this one, like that kind of thing.
There's ones that like stop you at a certain amount.
And then there's ones that don't because fuck you.
I just want fire whiskey because that sounds
That does sound
amazing.
dope as shit.
So
I would give up my non-brown liquor ban on myself in order to drink fire whiskey.
Yeah, it seems real good. So anyway, we go to the next day or later on. Katie Bell is still in the hospital, and Harry has been putting off replacing her for the opening Quidditch match of the season, which begs the eternal question of why there aren't any substitutes on the Quidditch team. I don't get why they get to have like one person for each position and then that's it. Because people get like petrified or murdered or injured severely every single year.
Or
This is
even
not
in
a sport.
Quidditch.
But
This is not a sport.
even plays,
This is a
e-
pantomime.
even plays have understudies.
Not all the time. Sometimes there's a swing. Sometimes you deal with it if you have to deal with it. There's an ensemble on occasion. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Jeez.
Move past it.
Anyway, Harry doesn't want to go through another tryout, so he approaches Dean Thomas, who did well in the tryout. Why did we not just make him the reserve? Harry did so, quote, with a sinking feeling that had little to do with Quidditch, because Harry loves Ginny, but he doesn't know it yet, and it's so good. Seamus is in the same area when Harry goes up to Dean to tell him this, and he overhears this, and he gets grumpy. Harry acknowledges that this is like not an ideal situation, but he also acknowledges that Seamus was not as good as Dean, so he doesn't feel that bad about it.
Like, sorry, dude, you sucked. We're gonna do this anyway.
Yeah, it's like you can be bad, but like also get good. So he leaves Seamus and Dean in the hallway together, which is already awkward. So they're like standing there, like, oh, cool, like, oh, congrats, Dean. And then a bird shits on Seamus's head. Like, did we need this, JK, to be like, wow, Seamus is really upset about what's going on, and he got shit in his face
By Hermione's canary. When did Hermione get canaries?
They were conjuring them in
Transfiguration.
class, in
That makes more
Transfiguration.
sense. I was like,
'Cause-
Crookshanks would definitely murder a bitch if Hermione was keeping birds.
And eat a bitch.
Yeah, she does it. I don't remember if it's earlier or later in the chapters that she's really sad in her room and she conjures
That's
them to
the
float.
end of
It's
this
after
chapter.
this, yeah, when she's sad
Yeah.
about the lavender thing, right? So apparently a bunch of other Gryffindors are really upset about Harry picking Dean because Dean is in Harry's year, so they think he's playing favoritism.
I mean, Yeah, kinda.
His second choice was also in his year, though.
Yeah.
So
Well, he never said Seamus was second choice. He just
Oh,
said
that's
Seamus
true.
was worse than Dean. We don't know,
That's
like,
true.
Dean and
comparatively.
Seamus are only ever mentioned like within a few sentences of each other. It's
Yeah.
like contractual, so probably that's why that happens.
And I think Seamus always has to be mad, except for the one time when...
He's an Irishman.
Oh, okay. Yep. Valid. Except the one time he was like, oh, my mom said you were right. Sorry about that, Harry. Sorry about being pissed at you for a whole book
I'm
for
kind
no
of mad
reason.
at my mom now, though.
Yeah. So they're mad. And again, this is why we need substitutes so that there's not all this drama. And Harry just kind of pushes all of this to the side because he realizes that if Gryffindor wins, all will be forgotten and nobody will care. And this is very good sports commentary by J.K. Rowling because this is the most true and relatable thing ever. Everyone that roots for any sort of sports team will like hate a player or a coach or a decision or whatever unless they win the game or the championship or whatever. And then everyone's like, I supported this team the whole time. I loved them since day one. Like, I knew this coach was perfect. So I like the commentary there.
Yeah, this is one of the things that makes the character of Harry, as much as we kind of moan and groan about him, you know, it is the juxtaposition of a kid caring a lot about his reputation among his peers, and also like, oh, you know, like my dad was in the school record books, you know, and like I want to be too, with the fact that he is like literally fighting a life or death for their people kind of war. So it seems ridiculous from time to time, but these little like in school, you know, kind of petty rivalry Quidditch interludes are really important. And as we get toward the end of the series, like there are going to be fewer and fewer of them because, you know, shit gets real.
Yeah.
So I sort of read this chapter with a little haze of you know, of nostalgia.
yeah, Mike, Quidditch is important.
Oh God!
Yeah.
I mean, I will give Harry credit. He is a very good Quidditch captain, and they have a lot of examples of it in this book where he is very objective. And very soon he's going to call out Ron for playing like crap and being really angry towards people and like bringing down the vibe of the team. He doesn't play favoritism. It just happens that his best friends are also the best on the team because it's easier to
Or because
write a book that
Hermione
way.
thinks them to be that way.
Yeah, true. Well, no, she just made McLoughlin bad. But he was a jerk, so I support Hermione there. You don't want him on the team. He's
No,
gross.
he's a
So then they go to Quidditch practice, and Dean actually kills it. So he proves to Harry that he made the right decision, but Ron is being a problem.
He said he had really good chemistry with Ginny, is what he said.
Uh,
And I was like, aw, it's like good and bad. I get it.
So Ron is being a problem. He's playing poorly, and at one point, somehow he punches Demelza in the mouth. Like, I don't get how you're so bad at saving a ball that you're like, oh, here's the ball, let me just clock my teammate in the face. But punches Demelza in the mouth. And then Ginny yells at Ron, calls him a prat, which is the second time it's been used in a few chapters. And I like this new Britishism that's coming around.
What does it mean
So I
exactly?
clarified with Dottie in the last episode that prat is basically, it's like calling someone a prick, where it's like kind of a bad word, but not like a super bad word. Like it wouldn't get bleeped on TV, but if someone that was 9-year-old was like, you're being a prat, their mom would be like, hey, don't say that. So it's like
Okay.
verging on bad.
I was
but
also
not
going to ask what the
good
prick was.
natured.
It's like in between calling someone a jerk and an asshole.
Okay.
All right.
You know, it's like
Okay.
the insult equivalent of damn, where it's like, yes, a bad word, but not like the
Okay.
worst word.
Okay.
But like take that in terms of an insult instead of just saying like, ah, damn it.
Okay.
And it's like a thing friends might say to each other, like, hey, you're being a bit of a prat, you know?
Sure.
Like kind of a like, okay, let's be real for a second type word.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So second time it's happened. But then Harry comes in and says, hey, Ginny, don't call Ron a prat. You're not the captain of this team. Basically saying, only I'm allowed to call him a prat, which
Yeah.
I think is so good.
Brother, she can call him whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah, especially Ron. 'cause
But
he's
then
a
we
jerk
get
to
a
Ginny.
legendary Ginny clapback.
Oh,
Go,
man.
go.
Yep. You seem to be too busy to call him one, so I figured that I would. And Harry has to fight back laughter because he
He's in
loves
love.
Ginny.
And it's a good line.
It is a very good one. She has so many good lines coming up. I'm so excited to get to it. As they're leaving practice, Ron is in the dumps. Harry gives him, quote, a constant stream of encouragement all the way back to the dorm. Again, good friend,
Good
good
friend,
bro,
good captain.
good captain for sure. They go through a tapestry which leads to their favorite shortcut up to Gryffindor Tower. So I'm guessing that they learned this from the Marauders map or Fred
For
and George
sure.
or someone. And they walk in on Ginny and Dean sucking face, which is described as, quote, kissing fiercely as though glued together.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah,
ooh.
it's bad. Bad.
Spicy.
Also, I was way too afraid to touch more than my lips to a person that I kissed in high school.
Yeah,
I like
15.
good on these kids for like doing that.
I mean, if this book proves anything, it's that Quidditch makes people horny.
Ah.
There are
there's a
lots of
lot.
locker room fics that
Uh-huh.
will, you know, substantiate that theory.
I mean, you got the adrenaline going. You've got the endorphins
Yeah.
high.
Yep.
I don't know. They just had the
Teamwork.
good chemistry that you pointed out, Kelly. Like, she's like, hey, nice pass over there. Oh, yeah, I'll show you a pass. Anyway, a figurative monster erupts to life inside of Harry's stomach, clawing at his insides because he loves Ginny Weasley.
It also could not be figurative. We don't know.
Yeah, a literal monster.
Is this the first time he's mentioned his figurative monster?
Yes, this is the first time that he mentions the monster. So there were little
he comes
hints
back.
of loving
The rage monster.
Ginny.
Yeah, it's
The,
good.
the rage monster, the love monster.
It's good.
Oh boy, please
Yeah.
don't call it the love monster.
Oh no!
Harry's
Oh,
love monster.
Harry
No.
Potter and the love. Oh
Uh-oh.
no!
There is the word hot blood in that
boy.
paragraph.
Ooh.
So
But
saying.
there is a great line next where the monster calls for Harry to instantly dismiss Dean from the team, which I
boy.
think is great.
Same.
Dean feels very awkward in the situation,
Sure.
quite understandably. And he's like, Ginny, let's go. And Ginny goes, no, you go on. I want to have a word with my brother.
Oh, boy.
And a word she has indeed.
Here we go.
So, oh my God. I had to like stop reading these pages multiple times because they were so good. And Ginny just straight up murders her brother with words. I'm getting the book to the exact page to make sure that I don't miss a single direct quote of this. She yells at Ron that it's none of his business who she does and doesn't, hook up with. And he says that yes, it is, because he doesn't want his sister to be known as and she butts in and goes, as a what? As a what exactly? Which is like, was Ron just about to call Ginny a slut?
drawing her
Yeah.
wand, let me add.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She draws her wand at it, which is good because like she was about to get called a slut by her own brother.
Yep.
That's not okay.
That's fucked up.
Or probably a slag, which is the
Is
UK
that the-
equivalent of slut. Yes.
Okay, fun. Harry tries to like jump in and settle things. I'm like, Ron didn't mean it that way. And Ginny's like, yes, he does. Just because he hasn't snogged anyone in his life. Just because
It's
the
very
best,
good,
Oh boy.
just because the best kiss he's ever had is from Auntie Muriel.
Oh boy.
Ooh, woof, woof, woof. And then Ron is like, shut your mouth. And then Ginny's like, I will not. I've seen you with phlegm. Love her dedication to not calling Fleur Fleur.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah,
I am
it's very
sticking to
good.
this
It's
nickname
very
I've given
good.
No
her.
matter how pissed I am in this situation, we're not going to use
I
her real
want
name.
Hoda and Kathy, is that her name? On
Yeah,
the
Hoda and
Today
Kathy
Show.
Lee.
Yeah, I want Ginny and Hermione to get wine drunk at 8 in the morning and have just like a Hogwarts morning television public access show.
Beautiful.
It would be the best.
That'd be good because they would also, they're like two of the at least smartest or most gifted and talented. So it wouldn't just be like two gossipy girls
Yeah,
talking smack.
they're
It'd be
witty.
like the two most.
They're great.
Right?
And clearly from our visit to the Burrow earlier, they kind of unlock that in each other, the sort of ability to be like petty for a minute. And I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna be great sister-in-laws.
Oh, they're going to be great. That
Yeah.
whole family, can you imagine?
That'd be
That's
so much fun.
good. Best holidays and
Yeah,
Christmas
Burrow
crossover
Christmases
ever.
are definitely
Oh
Christmas
my
goals.
gosh. Aunt, uncle, grandpa, official, unofficial, like that whole situation is going to be their kids growing up or just have the best people around them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even Hermione's dentist parents who seem like lovely humans. Like Mr.
I
and
know.
Mrs. Granger.
I know.
It's
Maybe
funny.
they'll go on a big ski trip together, huh?
I know. They'll get Weasley sweaters. And they'll be very cute, and they'll
That's
just
their
say
wedding gift
they'll
to
say
the Grangers.
DDS on them.
Oh my god.
So cute.
Speaking of Lucy's sweaters, there is someone that listened to Potterless named Joe, and she is currently knitting me a custom Weasley sweater.
What?
I'm so excited
Are you
about
going to
it.
my
get
God.
an M or an S?
I asked for an R.
Okay.
Like I want
Yeah.
like the real.
You want
I
the full
want a
Ron
straight up
sweater.
because if I don't get one, then it's just like, oh, that guy has a maroon sweater with an M on it. Like if I get an R, then at least someone will be like, oh, hey, that's the thing from that book. Yeah, and then I'll
Love
be
it.
like, yeah,
I love it. This podcast would suck if you hated Harry Potter, huh?
Right? Yeah, this would be so garbage if it was just like 30 plus at this point episodes of me just being like, this book is so bad. Like
I
if
don't think
was just-
anybody would listen because
No.
nobody would agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, also that. No, it was Will Williams. Will, in her review, she wrote like, sure, it's a snarky take on it, but he objectively enjoys the books, which makes it more fun because then it's so much better to, at least I think, look at me talking about why my own podcast is good. Ugh, gross. I think it's better when you have someone that like enjoys something and then is okay with being critical about it. It's like
Yes.
when your friend is like okay to like point out a flaw in you, or like someone that loves a sports team is okay to like point out some bad things.
Right.
It's good that I legitimately enjoy reading these books and they're so much fun because
But
then
also
when I
you
make fun of things, it's okay.
You spend, dozens and dozens and dozens of hours thinking about it and immersed in a thing. You're gonna grow to like it. You're gonna
Yeah.
grow familiarity and be able to kind of see it in a deeper deeper way. But I'm glad that we all kind of like this.
I like that you're implying that he has Stockholm Syndrome for Harry Potter at this point.
I didn't like it at first, and then I was just like, well, I'm reading them a lot. I guess I like it now. No, I knew going into it when Kelly was just like talking to me about the books. I was like, I know once I start it, I'm gonna love it. So that's why I was okay to run with this podcast.
That's what happened with me in wrestling, so I understand.
Oh, wrestling's great though. It's so much fun.
What?
Oh, professional wrestling is great.
It is.
I went to Hood Slam in Oakland every month.
I know.
It's so fun.
I know
it's
you
just
feel
so
this way.
obnoxious.
Julia can give you a crash course in
we'll
the women
go
of the
through
WWE. They're
the
very
women
good.
are so much better than they used to be at this point.
I know.
Anyway, back
So-
to speaking of
But
savage,
also-
brutal takedowns.
Check out the full review on the featured article of the month on potterlesspodcast.com.
Good website.
Hey.
Great web design work. So Ginny retorts, I will not. I've seen you with Phlegm. Hoping she'll kiss you on the cheek every time you see her. It's pathetic. Which
Yeah, it is.
I could definitely put myself in Ron's shoes. If there was like super hot French girl, the way that French people kiss, they
Dating
kiss
your
on the cheek.
brother.
Yeah, I mean, if I was 15 and it was like super hot French girl, it's like gonna guarantee kiss me on the cheek every time she says hi. With my hormones going around as a 15-year-old, I'd be like, oh, nice.
Yeah,
I get
same.
it.
No, I get it too.
I love Ginny calling him out for it, but like, I get it.
There's a reason I became a sound engineer-ish, which is that in high school, I was the only person who did sound at all. And before every musical, I would have to have all of the cast members walk up to me in their bodysuits or boxers to mic them up. And as long as they washed their hair that morning, which I yelled at them to do, it was a very pleasant experience.
Nice. Look at that. So she continues and goes, quote, if you went out and got a bit of snogging done yourself, you wouldn't mind so much that everyone else does it. She is
Shit.
holding
It's true.
no punches. Ron then pulls out his wand. Harry steps in between them. Ron yells, you don't know what you're talking about, trying to get a clear shot at Ginny. And then he says, just because I don't do it in public. And then Ginny screams with derisive laughter, trying to push Harry out of the way. This is the classic, like, yeah, I have a girlfriend, but she lives in Canada. And
Yeah.
Ginny just laughs in his face. Oh,
Also,
she's
they're
being
not
so
in
mean.
fucking public. They're in like some weird
Alcove,
alleyway,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, it's something that I would assume that probably only the Weasleys and Harry know about, thanks to
Or
Fred
like
and
very
George.
few students probably know about this.
Yeah, Ginny is so well adjusted. Like, this is such a like actually good attitude toward sex and relationships and growing up. And there are lots and a lot of fandom headcanon type stuff. Ron is often like a little bit more conservative than most people in the friend group. I mean, in the books we see that he's, you know, more down on Slytherin and he's kind of more judgmental. So it makes sense that this kind of dynamic is playing out in this way. Like, even though the subject is kind of silly, but I thought that was really cool, kind of characterization wise.
Yeah. So then, oh right. So the pain train of insults has not stopped. Ginny keeps going. Been kissing Pigwidgeon, have you?
Oh,
or have you
shit.
got a picture of Auntie Muriel under your pillow? And Ron says, you. And then a streak of orange light flew under Harry's left arm and misses Ginny by inches. Orange light. Do we know what charm that is? Because we know green is
No.
Avada
It's
Kedavra. We
probably
know red is
something
stunning.
Isn't
silly.
it disarming?
No, that's green. Oh, sorry, that's red.
No, red is stun spell.
I mean, they overlap in
But the-
color.
okay, yeah, sure.
Red is definitely Expelliarmus
Okay.
for sure.
Then it's also
Oh,
the
yeah.
stone one, because the one that McGonagall gets hit with in
Also
the
red.
5th book is red. She gets hit with like 5 of them.
yeah, I don't think that like
It's one color per.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
we're gonna
be
run
like a
out.
Crayola
There's
box.
math.
12 spells. Cool.
Oh, that one was chartreuse. No, it was violet red. Oh, no.
What's the CMYK of that spell over
yeah,
there?
yeah, each spell's got the different.
You guys were
Wow.
unlocking teal today in charms. This is exciting.
Ooh. Okay, so I'd have to look up what the orange one is. And then Ginny keeps on going. Harry snogged Cho Chang, and Hermione snogged Victor Crumb. It's only you who acts like it's something disgusting, Ron, and that's because you've got about as much experience as a 12-year-old.
Cloth of the 15-year-old.
Yeah, I did think that was kind of funny. He's like, you're 15, Ginny.
It's awesome, though. It's very good.
Yeah, super brutal. And after that, she storms away.
Damn
I
right.
feel like I've been quiet during this whole exchange because I'm kind of with Ron here because okay, having a younger sibling and the way they described how like furiously they were going at each
Glued
other.
together.
If I saw my younger sibling doing that, I wouldn't like start yelling at him, but I would like talk to him and be like, "Hey, you're 15. Do you really like this girl? Like, what are you like?" Because I mean, no spoilers, but you know, Ginny doesn't really
End up
with Dean, and like, how much does she really like him, and like, how much of this is just hormones, and how much does Ron need to like actually impart some brotherly wisdom on her, at some point. He goes about it the totally wrong way. But
Yeah.
like Ginny's so mean to him.
Yeah, I
here.
think they both
She's so
technically
mean.
have good intentions. Ron is trying to be protective and make sure everything is okay with his sister. Ginny is trying to stand up for himself and be like, you can't tell me what to do. But Ron handles it by just yelling at Ginny to not make out with people. And then Ginny just makes fun of Ron 13 and a half times
They're also-
for not kissing.
They're also 15, or she's 15, he's 16. I mean, like you were saying, my first kiss was when I was 15, and it was like, like it was a peck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like maybe
Whoa.
a couple of pecks
Whoa!
in a row. But, like,
Have we talked about this, Kelly?
I mean, this is boarding school also, where you're just with each other, living with each
That's
other
true.
for 8
but
months
like
a year.
that's even why I think it's like more important for like somebody to like be like, hey, do you really like this guy?
Yeah,
Is he
some kind of
respectful of you? Like all this like kind of stuff to vet out the situation. So I actually feel really bad for Ron here, although he was like a total jerk about it.
Ron's just
That's
super
dumb.
bad at expressing himself.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
So that's not the brother I would choose to have this conversation with.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, which brother would you?
Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah, okay.
obviously.
Charlie.
Why
that's
is he not in the books
What
more?
kind of
He's so
question
good.
is
Or
that?
honestly, Bill. Like, either way.
That's just because
Yeah.
they're older and more mature now, and they're
Well,
no
you wouldn't
longer
go to
like high
Percy.
school
You'd
boys.
go-
Oh
His
my
Percy
god!
Percy would be like, I don't believe in looking at women until you've married them.
Except he has that one photo. His high school
Fred
girlfriend
and George
I-
would never let her live it down.
Well,
like,
and
it
also
would
they
just
would like
be one
give
big
her all
joke.
false information and
Oh,
shit
probably.
like that.
Yeah.
yeah, oh god. Fred
Yeah,
and George
and
would
like
be the
say that they were
worst.
giving her protection, but it's actually like
Oh,
a jack in the box.
gosh.
Like, oh no.
god, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my god!
no,
No,
they would do
Charlie
the worst
would
Really?
like
Ginny
buy
just
them a
needs a
beer
sister.
and be like, "Here, yo, kid, growing up, your body's gonna be weird stuff. It's fine." Like, yeah, it would be great.
Yeah, the other problem is like Ginny's whole argument thing should be, hey, you can't tell me what to do. I'm allowed to kiss whoever I want. But it very quickly just turns into like, fuck you, Ron. You haven't kissed anyone. And it's like, okay.
Poor Ron.
I just like it because I love the insults. But you're right, Kelly. She's very mean here.
When you take into account their age,
Sure.
I need to pause for 1 second because
Okay.
Leanne Davis got her tattoo right next to her.
Yay! No, that's going in. So it's right next to the Wizard on. Yes!
nice.
Davis.
Le- Leanne
I'm
Davis.
so glad we're together. Oh my god,
That's
what a
so-
beautiful pairing!
know.
We need to make like a crossover
That looks
t-shirt.
so good.
We should make multitude crossover t-shirts. with
Yeah,
all
it's like
the
you're clinking
logos.
glasses and wizarding on.
That's so good. So
Aw,
Leanne
Leanne.
Davis, producer level patron, who got the Wizard on tattoo on her arm, just got the Spirit's little drinking glass tattoo right next to it. So it does look like
Epic.
you're clinking Wizard on with the Spirit's glass. That is so
Epic.
good.
Epic.
Oh my gosh.
Epic.
Shout out to Leanne Davis for that one. The first producer level patron I ever had.
I think us too. I think our first producer level patron.
Aw.
Yeah,
So let's
Leanne's
see.
amazing.
Look at that. So
What a good patron tier idea you got from your pod moms.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing this in there right now, you should make Wizard on temporary tattoos
I-
for those of us
that'd
not
be
as
good.
brave as.
Yeah, even when Leanne got the tattoo, I was like, I don't even know if I would get a Wizard on tattoo, like, because it'd also be douchey. Be like, did you get a tattoo of your own? And I posted that on Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff. And there was one of my friends in Seattle was at a brunch with me, and he was like, did you just get a tattoo of your podcast on your arm? And I was like, okay, I'm a garbage person, but not that much of a garbage person to get my
It's
own thing tattooed
advertising.
on
What
my
are you talking about?
yeah. Hey guys, look at me. Oh god, that'd be so terrible if I did that. I have thought of a tattoo that I might get, which is slightly Harry Potter related. I want to get "can't I" with a question mark tattooed on me, but mainly because it's like the opposite of saying like I can't. But the way that it fits in with Harry Potter is one of my favorite lines when Harry yells at Bellatrix and he's like, Voldemort can't hear you now. And then
I, Potter?
can't I, Potter? Which is
It's
like
very
the
good.
best entrance of any
I
character
do not
ever.
remember that.
No, it's
very
in the
good.
amazing Dumbledore versus Voldemort fight in the hallway of the
excellent.
Ministry.
I'll go
Good
back.
one.
Yeah, so it's like it would be a good thing just to get like tattooed of like, oh, cool. Instead of saying I can't, he's saying can't I? But then in my head it'd be like,
Get it.
it's a Voldemort quote.
Get it, Mike.
So if I ever get a tattoo, I think that might be the one. So storms away. Harry quickly let go of Ron and then looks at his face. Ron's face is described as quote murderous. So they decide to get through. Ron like knocks over a small girl on their way to the dorm. Like he's super pissed. But while
Shout out to Mrs. Norris who broke the tension.
shout
Came
out.
around the corner and
She's
broke the tension.
Good cat.
Good cat.
Maybe
good
That's
Mrs.
a
Norris's
great-
first useful appearance in the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, getting petrified, I guess she was kind of a clue, but yeah, not too.
Someone
useful.
else was also petrified.
Yeah,
it wasn't just
three,
her.
Like at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
three other people. So as Ron leaves, Harry is trying to think about why he got so mad, and he's muttering to himself, it's just because she's Ron's sister. You just didn't like see her kissing Dean because she's Ron's sister. Sure. And I wrote that in my book with 12 U's. Sure. But then he gets in his mind an image of himself kissing Ginny instead. The monster purrs at this thought.
Oh my gosh, the monster.
Yeah. Growing in my list of favorite characters is this internal monster.
Call to all the fan artists out there to make an internal monster drawing of
Yeah,
that.
I would love to see
I'm
that.
naming him Chad.
Chad.
No,
Chad's
Why?
Too
No, it can't be
Stop
Chad. Can't be
ruining
Chad.
Chad
Yeah.
for me.
So then Ron later on is pretty upset because he abruptly goes to Harry and asks, do you think Hermione did snug Crumb?
Yes.
As they're approaching
Ron.
the fat lady.
100%.
So transparent.
Yeah, and Harry goes like, and then the narrator even says the honest answer was yes, but he did not want to give it.
Aw.
Ron
Good
seemed
friend,
to
good
gather the worst from the looks on Harry's face there. So it was never confirmed, but like you would think it had to have happened at
Do you
some
think they at least
point.
kiss it at some
In the
point?
dance.
the
At the
Sure.
dance,
Right.
they had that like make-out garden outside of the dance.
Makeout garden isn't. I thought it was just like bushes in the hallway that people were standing
No,
behind.
it was
and then Snape,
outside.
It was
okay.
outside. There were bushes outside that people were making out.
So I
behind.
imagine them, and I don't know if the book actually describes the layout of them, but I just imagine there was a bunch of individual bushes in the hallway.
People were just like, let's get behind this one. We'll get behind this one. It's just a row
They're
of
not
people
like
making
urinals
out.
or
I imagine
Right.
I imagined a decorative maze. I don't know why.
Ooh,
That's
okay.
just what I pictured.
Yeah.
I imagine it as the garden at the end of the
the fourth
Princess Diaries.
Book?
Oh,
When
Oh,
she turns
yeah,
on the
yeah,
light
yeah.
with her foot. That's what I imagine that
Yeah.
garden as.
And I imagined a topiary.
Ooh. Look at us.
I did.
Yeah, so Harry goes to bed angrily, just lays in bed, staring at the ceiling, earnestly trying to convince himself that his feelings for Ginny are purely elderly brotherly. Sure. So he has all these angry thoughts. He even at one point has the thought of tearing Dean limb from limb for kissing her. He keeps justifying this, saying it's natural for him to feel this way because he views her as his sister. It's a brotherly type thing. It's natural to feel protective of her. And then he has to keep telling himself she's out of bounds. She's Ron's sister. She's out of bounds. He wouldn't risk his friendship with Ron for anything. And then he punches his pillow. I thought it was out of anger when I first read it, but the book says it's to get it in a more comfortable position. But I thought at first he was going, oh man, I love Ginny.
Yeah, it's when you're like chopping vegetables after having a fight with somebody and being like, everything is fine.
Yeah, so he just goes to bed in this angry hormonal state. But that's the end of what we're going to be covering in today's episode of Potterless. Ladies, how do you feel about this section of the chapter?
Oh man.
It's a good one.
Oh boy.
I like the second half too, though.
Yeah.
It's
The
a good-
chapter as a whole,
whole-
is
It's
Yeah,
good.
the whole chapter is a really
Yeah,
good one.
it's a good chapter. And at the risk of doing my professorial thing,
here we go.
it is evocative of a larger theme, both in this book and this kind of back third of this series, which is about the narratives we tell ourselves and how the like way that we narrate our own actions and the denial and turning away from stuff within us and not looking at the parts of us that are icky or squishy or uncertain is really powerful and aggregates over time and feeds into your future behavior. So even though, yes, it's like hormonal, kids, and it's funny to look at now knowing, for those of us who have read the books, who they end up with, it is really real. And as relationships kind of like come together and fracture over the next, book and a half, keep this in mind. It's going to be fun to look back on.
Wow, look how smart and eloquent. I was just going to say I liked it because Ginny's insults are funny.
No, she was
She's also
brutal.
great.
I loved it.
They are funny,
They're
they're
good.
mean.
They're mean.
but they're really funny.
Yeah, but they're pretend people, so it's okay when they yell at each other. But yeah, thank you guys
Wait,
so
they're
much for
pretend
being.
people?
I hate to break this to you,
What?
Kelly.
What?
Not a
Oh my
documentary.
God. Wait, what?
It's real to Kelly.
But ladies, thank you so much for being on.
You got it.
And listeners, thank you so much for listening. And as they say, every time they want to go through the tapestry to get to the secret corridor where people go to make out and stuff, wizard on!
Wizard on.
Wizard on.
If you need more Harry Potter discussion in your life, you can head on over to facebook.com/Potterless and join our fancy private group where people share memes and discuss things that happen in the book. And there's a spoiler group that I'm not in where people talk about stuff that I haven't got to yet. It's a very fun time, and I love every single person that's in that group. Potterless is created by Mike Schubert. It is hosted by Mike Schubert. It is edited by Mike Schubert. It is produced by Mike Schubert, as well as Leanne Davis, Vicky Garcia, Aaron Johnson, Erica and Calvin Bauer, Sadie Bear, Jesse Horgan, Natalie Klobuchar, Deborah Wilkins, Klaus Serlopu, Alex Stark, Rebecca Adamek, Frank Chiodo, Marchismo, Tori Larsick, Samantha Rose, Juan Sanfelio, Sheila Vidia, Nathan, Jenna Dowsett, Kieran Webb, Luis Nusak, Akanksha, Saxena, Rebecca Vinsnez, Abid Ahmed, Caitlin Jordan, Pontolo, Licia Rue, Ayana Kronk, Benjamin Bridges, Rosemary Dodge, Jill Boulay, Maria Lisa Seekeen, Maria Paulton, Ariel Bird, Romina Rivdanira, Kumail Doc, Anthony Bonrigo, Diego Matienzo, Andrew Clack, Celeste Smith, Russell Dunk, Jenny Nilsson, Dustin Mullen Cooch, Katie Rogers, Audra, Indiana Mercer, Eleanor Curlin, Sydney Cawthorn, Billy Hinton, Roseanne Batamana, Mikey Cool, Andrea Franz, Nikita Power, Colette Smith, Chrissy Blackburn, Shrina Unicod, Jeremy Bonnie, Stephen Gagne, Lala Palmer, Chelsea Green, Taylor Armstead, Victoria Jones, and Sammy Curti. Web design by Kelly Beckman, and the music is by Bettina Campamanis. If you need any information about the show or you want to see other things that I've been in, you can head to potterlesspodcast.com. We're on all of your social medias. Just search for Potterless. You can subscribe to Potterless wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify. Just search for Potterless. And if you want bonus content, you can head to patreon.com/Potterless. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, as they say in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, wizard on!